What's up, FFA? Good morning, everybody. Hey, on today's call, we are going to do a deep dive into how to sell veterans, federal, state employees, all of the people that you generally run into who say that they have everything covered, everything's included, right? I know you guys have ran into this before. So I'm going to do a deep dive with you as to what type of insurance they actually get and then how you may or may not be able to help them. And I think it'll surprise you how some of them might be in a really good spot, but a lot of them think they're in a good spot, but they really don't know what's coming down the pipeline with how those benefits work. So that's what we're going to dive into today. But to kick off the call, the verse of the day says, it's know the love of Christ, which passes knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. Ephesians 3, verse 19. That verse, guys, speaks to me because it says, know the love of Christ, that you would be filled with the fullness of what God has. And notice what it says. It doesn't say that you need to be perfect, that you need to do X, Y, Z to earn that. It just says to know it, meaning it's already been given to you. And I don't know about you, but the only way that I can feel full in life is by putting him first and by feeling that fullness that he can provide us. So no matter how you're waking up this morning, take that verse and run with it into your day this week. So guys, let's talk about veterans first. We're coming off of Veterans Day. How many of you go to the WhatsApp chat, have ran into a veteran, you've knocked on their door, done the door approach, or called them on the phone, and they hit you with the VA covers everything? All right. I know so many of you guys have had that happen to you. I've had it happen to me, and it's just not true, especially when it comes down to life insurance. So I'm going to pull this graph up here for you guys. And let's talk about what do veterans get as far as life insurance goes. And this is going to be tied to, let's just say, somebody's honorably discharged. So maybe they served 4 years, maybe 6, 8, 20, whatever it is, right? So honorably discharged. Benefits can vary depending on if they actually retired compared to if they just served and got out. But when somebody's in the military, they get insurance. It's called Service Members Group Life Insurance. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. I used to have it when I was in the Marines. And what it is, it used to go up to 400,000, but now I believe they bumped it up to 500. When I was in, it was 400,000. And the way that program worked, right? When you're in the military, it's part of what you're getting paid and it's provided. If anything happens to you, that's what your family gets. It's a term insurance plan when you're working, very similar to like if you had a W-2 job and your employer provided life insurance as part of the benefits for you. But what happens is when you go to transition out of service, you have the option to take that policy with you, all right, and convert it into something that's called Veterans Group Life Insurance, or VGLI, if you've ever heard of that. It's the same concept. The difference is that you're now paying for it, okay? And veterans get this confused all the time because when a veteran gets out of service, maybe they're getting VA disability, different benefits from the government at this point, depending on their circumstance. A lot of times these payments come out of that before you even get it. So veterans might be getting, a big chunk of money taken out of that check, and they might not even think it. They might think that it's included because they never actually seen the breakdown to see that, hey, wait a minute, I actually am paying for this thing. Okay, so how does it work, guys? It's a $500,000 term insurance plan. When you get out of service, you have to convert that. Like you have to elect to keep it. I want to say within 120 days. It's on the VA website. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong on the time frame, but I know that there's a time frame that you have as a veteran to elect to keep that coverage once you get out. And when you elect to keep it, you get to keep, okay, the amount that you had in service. So you elect a certain amount or below that. And so let's just say the veteran had 500,000, they get out and then they want to continue that plan. It's a term insurance plan, guys. So when they're younger, right, it's not going to cost them that much money. You can actually Google VGLI rates, go right on the Veterans Administration website, and it will tell you what you would pay for however much coverage that you can get. And you have to pick it within $10,000 increments. So you'll see it goes, 400, 410, 420, all the way up. So you guys can actually pull this up. And let's say you have a veteran saying, hey, no, I'm good. I've got life insurance. You can pull this chart up and be like, well, how much do you have? I've got 500,000. All right. And you're between ages 65 to 69. That means you're paying $690 a month for it. Black and white, the VA is not paying for it. This chart came off the VA's website. Okay. So I'll tell you guys a story about this. It was back in like 2019, I believe. I had knocked on a lead, right? And he was 82 years old, veteran, retired from service, VA disability. And he just swore up and down he did not need more life insurance. He said he was life insurance poor, meaning he was paying a lot for life insurance. He had 400,000 in insurance. This was back in 2019. And at that time, I believe he was paying $485 a month for it. I sat down with him. We called to get the exact number that he was paying. They explained to him how it's term insurance, different things. And he just did not want to convert that thing. He didn't want to take that money he was paying because he was stuck on that $400,000 benefit, right? At 82 years old, he was stuck on thinking he could afford that forever. And he reluctantly took out a small whole life plan with me because I told him that the cost is going to keep going up for him. He didn't really believe me, though. You know how sometimes veterans get a little squirrely thinking like the VA is paying everything, right? And they're not sure. So he got a little squirrely, but he reluctantly took out a small whole life plan. And I told him, I said, hey, look, every year I'm going to call you, check in on you and see if you've noticed an increase in what you're paying. And when he turned 85, he called me because he had gotten a letter that coverage was going to start costing him around, I think it was like $1,600 or $1,700 a month. He couldn't afford it. He wanted me to come back by, and I wrote him like $1,000 a month life insurance, whole life plan at that point. And he told me he regretted not doing it years ago and that I was right. So he called me 3 years later to tell me that. So what's the gist of this, guys? This insurance is not bad. It's a great benefit for veterans, but they have to understand that cost is going to go up and it's not provided, all right, for them. So you guys can go on the chart, but just check this chart out. So a veteran who's 65 to 69 years old, let's say they have 500,000, they kept it. They're paying $690 a month for that plan. Okay. Let's go to the next page. 80 and older, a veteran who has 500,000 is paying $2,200 a month to keep that policy. Okay. You can go down like 370, $1,600 a month. All right. So a lot of veterans, guys, have never seen this chart. And I was one of those. I had got out of the Marines. I converted kept my plan with me, right? And when Alicia started doing insurance, she's like, we just need to look at this, figure out what this is. And I think by the time I was 65, the way I had it set up, my payment was going to be like $1,600 a month. I had no idea. I thought I had whole life insurance. I didn't know what it was because I didn't do insurance at the time. So most veterans have never looked at this chart. If you're sitting down with one, I would really encourage you to just pull this chart up and talk through it with them. And in many cases, maybe they need to keep their plan that they have. Maybe they have health issues. Maybe it's not a bad price. Maybe they're, in their 40s, it's affordable, whatever. It's not that it's bad. It's just depending what age they are and how much money they have, they might run into a spot where they can't afford this anymore. And they a lot of times think that it's just always staying the same. And they might turn 80 and get slapped with a $2,200 a month bill and be like, well, what the heck did this come from? Right. I thought the VA was covering everything. So make sure you guys are taking some time to go through this chart. It's VGLI life insurance. The veteran kept their plan when they got out. That's what they have. All right. So that's how that one works. The VA did come out with a new program. I think it was last year or the year before. And what it is, it's a guaranteed issue whole life insurance policy with a 2-year wait. So if you were a veteran, you probably got a letter in the mail from the VA saying you're entitled to elect it. Any veteran, to my knowledge, that's honorably discharged can get that new type of insurance. But again, it's a whole life plan. I think it goes up to $25K. It's definitely a 2-year wait, and it's just your basic guaranteed issue plan. So something to keep in mind if you run across a veteran that says, hey, I got this in the mail saying, no medical questions, I'm guaranteed to be accepted. It's true. It's just a 2-year wait, and not a lot of people understand how that works, right? So that is a new program that the VA kicked off. And then let's talk about federal employees, guys. Federal's very similar to the veterans group life insurance. It's a little bit different, but it's the same concept, right? They get to keep their life insurance when they retire. Now, this is a little different though, because there's different options that they can elect to do. There's A, B, and C, right? And so I'll leave this PDF up here. You guys can snap a picture of it. You can just Google FEGLI, which is Federal Employees Group Life Insurance. That's what it's called. Overview or rates. You can go on that website. You can type in your client's age, what they have. It'll tell you exactly what they're paying for it. It's pretty cool. It's everything that your client needs to understand or you need to explain to them. You can find it in 5 seconds on their website, and they do a very good job. And shout out to the VA and the FEGLI website. They do a very good job at actually explaining how these work. All right. So you can always pull them up and show your clients it. But the one option with this, right, is it's standard life insurance for $10K. You'll see here what the premium is. There's a biweekly premium or a monthly. So age 60 and over, it'd be $13 a month, but I believe that is based off of $1,000. So if they have 10, you add it up from there. So it potentially could be $130. Check my math on that. I'm going through this quick, but there's a rate chart that will tell you that, but I really like their calculator. You just input their death benefit they have, all of that, and it'll spit out exactly what they're being charged for. So that's option A. Option B, all right, is additional, right? So you can see it. They can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times their annual base pay to be able to increase how much coverage they have. And then there's the rates there. And then option C is family insurance. They can get coverage for their spouse and children if their children are dependents too. So when somebody goes to retire, they get to elect, right, which option they want to have. When you run into this kind of coverage, you really got to call. It's called OPM. It's the Office of Personnel Management, and figure out which option your person has. Okay, because they might not have papers on it. They might not know it. But that's how that works. You can call them. They'll run through it all with you. And then that's that. And then the last thing, guys, here's the rates, for the family insurance. And then for state employees, okay, let's talk about teachers. It really depends on the state that you live in. But a lot of times state employees do have benefits that carry over into retirement. And like in North Carolina, I've seen a ton of teachers that have a $10,000 paid up whole life plan that they elected to keep. So there are situations where you run into that. So I went over that with you guys so that you had a good understanding of what veterans can get, what federal workers can get, state employees. A lot of times they do have that paid up benefit, at least in North Carolina. I don't know about every state, but I'm sure it's probably similar. So that's the overall gist. All right. And so why is that important to you as an agent? And let's talk about how can you actually go about helping them. Okay. So if you knock on a door and it's a veteran and they say, "Hey, I've got the VA, everything's covered." Is it? Chances are it's not. All right. And I don't I'm a veteran. I've never got anything from the VA that says, "Hey, you have a paid up benefit of XYZ." I've never seen it. All right. And when I had the insurance and I converted it, I never really got anything that actually said, "Here's your policy." So I would have never really known what I had. Chances are your veteran really probably has no idea what they have. And a lot of times veterans think they have things because the VA covers healthcare. They cover a lot of things, but life insurance isn't really one of them that's usually included in what they have. So if you have that situation, all you have to say is, "Hey, perfect, you're a veteran. Totally understand. That's going to be VGLI insurance, most likely. Very familiar with it. Let's go sit down. I'm going to review your benefits and show you how that thing works." And you just jump right into the presentation. You go over the chart, go on the VA website. Guys, the best way to educate a veteran on what they actually have is to use the VA website, because that way they're not just relying on you, they're seeing proof, right? I can't tell you guys how many veterans I actually sat down with and showed them what they were going to pay for that amount of coverage at age 60, 65, 80, right? I had to do it to myself. And when they see that, they're like, "Holy crap, I don't want to pay that." But they end up getting a supplemental policy. A lot of veterans will keep that. And hey, all the power to them. It's not bad. But most of them need an individual plan on the outside of what they're getting through the VA. All right. So that's big. Federal employees is the same way. Okay. State workers, guys, they're going to need more than $10,000. Right. So if you're an agent here in North Carolina and you have let's say a teacher, and she said, "Hey, I retired. I'm good. I've got paid up insurance." Perfect, Miss Betty. Look, I know that benefit's probably 10,000. We could agree that's really not going to cover anything in today's world. So you might be entitled to a plan to help cover all the difference. Let's go sit down and talk about it. So guys, you have to use this knowledge to be able to educate and advise people. And a lot of times maybe they're good, right? I'm not going to try to tell a teacher that that's bad. She got paid up 10,000. That's awesome. But we definitely need some extra. At least you're not paying for that one, right? Veterans, same thing. Hey, you got a $500,000 plan. That's perfect. Are you going to be able to pay $2,200 a month for that thing when you turn 80? Probably not. Most people are going to say no. And you're really helping these people out by educating them on what they actually have. Because a lot of times, guys, if you're sitting down with, let's say, a 65-year-old veteran, well, they might have been in service from 18 years old to 22 years old. 40 years have gone by since they have looked at their benefits, most likely. They have no idea what they have. All right. I couldn't remember what I had a year after I got out. I still don't know what I have with the VA for most of my stuff. So you got to be able to educate them, talk to them. And if they feel like that's what your mission is, and you're not just trying to sell them something, they're going to listen to you. And the best way to do that, guys, pull up the va.gov website. Just Google Veterans Group Life Insurance. Whole thing will pop up. Make sure you're on the actual VA website, though. There's a lot of websites that have other stuff. You want to be on the actual VA website. Same thing with FEGLI, Federal Employees Group Life Insurance. And then the state workers, there's really not much you can find online for that. that comes down to having to call wherever they actually retired from. But a lot of times the state workers will actually have paperwork with them. So something to think about, guys. If you're in North Carolina, to add on to that, most state workers that I've ran into usually have Colonial Life. It seems like that's usually the company that helps a lot of these schools and different things out. So that's all I got for you guys on today's call. I really want you guys to take away that just because you run across a veteran, a federal retiree, a state retiree, that doesn't mean that they're perfectly good and you can't help them. Those are usually the people that you end up helping the most. Those are the people that maybe have some money they need to look at to an annuity. Maybe they need extra life insurance. There are people that have worked hard their whole life, right? And they think they're in a good spot, but when they start really kind of going through the weeds, they realize, hey, maybe they are and maybe they're not. So don't just give up on these people when they say, hey, I retired from XYZ. I'm good. I'm a veteran. I'm good. They're not good, right? Don't take that at face value. Make sure that you overcome those objections, really educate them on how you probably could help them out quite a bit. So, guys, I'm not a professional, right, in the VA or the federal or the state benefits packages and stuff, but just doing a quick overview and what I've ran into over the years. This is the gist of how these things work. And hey, I might have got some stuff wrong on this little presentation, but you can find it all on the VA website, the FEGLI website, and be able to really help your clients out by going through that thoroughly with them. So hopefully this helps you guys. Hopefully it helps you help more of the clients and the leads that you guys are running into out there in the field. I appreciate you for jumping on here. We will be back here on Friday.